Well, hey everybody, it's Ashley from Lovely Commotion. Thank you for joining me today. Today I want to talk all about 2 and 3 year olds. So, a handful of years ago, I jumped back in to the classroom setting. I was teaching young children from my home before that. Also, I was a parent educator before that as well. And so I was going from um, house to house helping parents with their child, giving them activities, giving them ideas, helping them know what to expect developmentally. And I love that job. Unfortunately, there was a budget cut, and that kind of forced me back into my home. And I was working with children there. And so I'd had a lot of experience with younger children, younger than pre-K, and I loved it. And so when I jumped back into the classroom setting after my own kids have kind of grown a little bit, and I found myself in a room with 10 3-year-olds. And so this was definitely a change from anything I'd done in the past. I'd done first grade in the past, I've done pre-K in the past. I watched some friends in my home and did some preschool there, but had not had 10-year-olds by myself before. And so this was a pretty different thing. And while the change from pre-K to 3-year-olds doesn't sound like much, if you've ever done it, you know that it is a pretty big difference. And so we were in, well, I still am, luckily, in a play-based setting, and I felt the need to help my littlest students learn important social skills. Like, obviously, that was my first and foremost, was social skills, attention to task, and some academic skills, all while loving this idea of school, because many of them it's their very first time, and loving that open-ended environment that, a play-based setting provides. And so this was taking balance on my part, right? I wanted them to have that free time to learn, to play, to explore, but I also wanted them to be able to start building a little bit of attention to task. There are three. And also building some of those essential skills for later on. And so I was finding myself taking a lot of time researching ideas, activities, making decisions on whether I felt like the activities were age appropriate, worth the time, right? At that time, our part-time program was very short. I think it was, gosh, maybe 3 hours. And so I had to make decisions on what I felt like was going to be the best bang for our buck in time. And so I was finding myself definitely spending lots of time looking for ideas and putting them together. That's Gabby. She's mad that I won't hold her. Um, talking about 3-year-olds. She sometimes acts like one. And so I found myself week after week always behind a little bit because I'd not done this age in a classroom setting. And so I was constantly looking for new ideas and constantly trying to figure out how I could best balance the play-based setting and adding in a little bit of, the academic side. And so honestly, there wasn't much out there. And if you teach 2 and 3s, that's still a little bit the case. Like, there just isn't a ton of information. There's not a ton of resources, right? And while I do 100% believe that if you just spent your day in open play and interacted and engaged with our 2s and 3s, that they will do amazing things. But I want to also make sure that I was doing what I could to kind of help them grow in the attention to task space, like being able to sit at circle time for just a short amount of time, and building that up over the year, and also being able to bring in some academic skills that they could start learning. So today I wanted to share with you the details of one of my 2 and 3-year-old lesson plans, because my time being back in that age group and not really having the resources I needed is what inspired me to create these lessons. And they're what I used. So after the first couple months, I realized, whoa, like something's going to have to change. And so I worked really hard to come up with some themes and really go off of those. And then I've been able to expand those to help more 2 and 3-year-old teachers. And so many times, people don't know these resources are available for them. Teachers don't know this is available for them, and they don't know what's all in it and what's included, and is it worth my time? Is it worth my money? And so I just wanted to take some time to show you what's in it. This one that we're going to be looking at today is the pond. There are a lot of them. There are 35 of them, and they are weekly lesson plans. So that kind of gives you some background there. And I will just go through it with you and show you kind of what's included in this one. Obviously, they're all different because they're different themes. I will also say that these lesson plans are based off of my goals and assessments for 2s and 3-year-olds that I also pretty much created for this reason. And so I kind of needed to know what we were going to be working on and working towards. So I will put information into this post about the pacing guide, about the assessments and things like that. But just know that when you're looking at it, I definitely had a plan. I didn't pull them just randomly of what we're going to do. I want to make sure that we were meeting some goals in all the areas, like fine motor. Make sure we're doing some things with literacy. Make sure we're doing some things with math. Make sure we're doing things with gross motor and things like that. So you can grab that, but I just wanted to show you kind of what's included. So first off, I wanted to show you, this is kind of like an overview. So this would be just like an overview of the week. And as you can see on there, there's days 1 through 5, and there are songs listed there. There's a read aloud column, and that is where you can kind of plug in which read alouds you want to use. Obviously, I didn't want to put those in there for you because you may not have the same books available to you that I do. And then there's a whole group column and a small group column. So that's pretty much what these consist of. When we're talking about lesson plans for 2 and 3s, I just wanted to keep it super simple. I wanted to make sure I was planning something so that our day didn't get away from us, or that I was missing opportunities to help them grow, but also not so much that it was overwhelming and too much and not focused on play. So with those, speaking of read alouds, I also included for each theme some read aloud books that'll be good for these kiddos. They're basically just, anything from 3 to 5. You also may want to plug in some board books for your younger 2s, because those will be shorter and they'll be able to handle those a little bit better. And I also included some center information. So while I want to make sure I had something planned on my end, I also know the importance of environment when it comes to play-based learning. We've got to set up our environment. It can't just be the same thing in there all the time and expect them to be able to grasp different concepts, learn different things, try out new things. It's got to be constantly changing. And so for each theme, I made sure to give you some ideas of what you could do. Obviously, don't have to do these, but just want to give you something that might be a jumping off point. And so these are the centers that are included. I included ideas for sensory, science, art, blacks, literacy, writing, drama, math, and fine motor. So 9 different play centers with 9 different ideas. So this is kind of how they're laid out. So I just want to go through these with you just so you can kind of get an idea of what is included in here and will it be helpful to me. So for fine motor, an idea is to put, it's called fish in the pond. They're going to use tweezers and they're going to catch the fish in the pond. And basically you're just going to have like small toy fish. They could be little erasers. They just could be little toy fish that, you get for like the party store or whatever. And then some child-sized tweezers. The alligator ones are really great. And then put them in a small tub of water. And so they are at the Fine Motor Center. Put a towel under it, put a big towel under it, because obviously it's going to get a little wet. And they're just going to practice pinching them out of there, and you can show them how to do that, and then you can leave that in there all week, and that's something that they can do, or you can make that a small group, right? Drama, make a frog pond and tape big paper lily pads to the floor and have masks for them, duck mask, frog mask, whatever you want it to be, and they can pretend they're ducks and frogs, and they can kind of act that out in can go whichever way they feel like they want to go with that. Math is actually an activity that is from day 3 that you're going to put into your math center. So we'll talk about that one a little bit later. In science, sink the lily pad. So I cut a lily pad out of foam and then give them little pebbles, little rocks, and see how many. Oh, also fill a tub with water. Put the lily pad on top, foam lily pad, and see how many pebbles. How many pebbles can we put on this lily pad before it sinks? Great science right there. Sensory, just super easy. A tub, fill your sensory tub with water, and ducks. Ducks are fun in there. Floating frogs, if you have them. Used to have those at the Dollar Tree a while back. And then cups, funnels, anything they can scoop and pour. Super fun. Art, I always like to just bring in some stamps on theme, some pond animal stamps, maybe some stickers, things like that they can use. For ducks, we might bring in feathers. They could work on that. In our art center, we really just focus on a lot of process art, and so may even use coffee filters. They could use the coffee filters for a lily pad. They really just take those supplies and do what they will with them. So there's no crafts involved because we generally just don't do them. Research is telling us that process art, especially for our young ones, is really what it's all about. It's about the process of how they're using the stamps and what it did on the paper, and exploring that and creating our own piece of art, and then making a piece of art that looks like somebody else's. And so it's basically just providing those materials for them. And so we always have all our materials out, and these are just ideas to add to those and be thematic, right? So we're definitely not replacing anything that's already in there. We're just adding to it. So pond stickers, pond stamps, anything like that you want to do. Writing, you could definitely do a duck maze. This one is like a sentence strip or a piece of paper cut into long strips and little rubber ducks. And you can use a thick marker to kind of make a path, right? And you can drive your duck along the path. And so they're working on some fine motor skills, and they're also working on staying on that line. That would be exciting. Blocks. I just love to add any type of theme we're doing that has an animal. I love to add the animals into the block center. I also might use some blue foam as little ponds. I might cut some ponds and give them those smaller blocks, and then they can kind of use that stuff, and maybe little pebbles even. They can use all of that in their block play and create whatever they want to create with it. And then literacy, I always make sure that I have literature, different books on theme in there. And so that's what I generally have in there. And we read from that stack generally. So that is the center ideas and the read aloud. And then every lesson plan also comes with songs. So there's a song each day. You kind of saw that on the overview of the lesson plans. And so these are included in here. And they're all just sung by you, and they all have a tune. This one is the Tired Turtle, and the tune is I've Been Working on the Railroad. And then there's another one. This one is just kind of more like a chant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. And we can work on the dexterity of using our fingers when we're counting. This one is just a chant as well. 5 little ducks paddled to the shore. 1 swam away. Then there were 4. And so this would be great to use also with some little ducks, obviously, as a visual that you can make them swim away. And then found a feather is to Oh My Darling Clementine. And it talks about finding a feather at the pond. And then let me show you what's in the actual lesson plans themselves. So this is the overview, like I showed you before, and then it goes a little deeper into these. So on day 1, I'm going to have some deeper explanations of what goes into whole group and small group. So this would be day 1. And so whole group on this day is who lives at the pond. And so included, and it'll tell you if it's included, are photos of pond animals. And so I like to make sure that I have real photographs and not just some clip art. so they know what these look like. And we talk about whether they've seen these things before. And, if there was a pond near us, we would totally walk to a pond. I'd like to tell my parents that we're doing this so that if they're out and about and they go to a pond, now they can connect what we're learning in the classroom to a real life thing outside and create that schema right there. And so pond animal pictures. And so it will tell you exactly what to do with that. We're talking about what a pond is. We're asking what type of animals they think live in a pond. And so I'm using a piece of chart paper and I'm writing pond animals at the top, and then they're going to help me add these animals. And I just use sticky tack or tape or glue and put them up on the board and up on the chart paper. And then we keep that and we can reference it later. But things that live at a pond, and where do we find ponds, and have you ever seen a pond, and all those things, and sharing those experiences of whether they've seen these things. And since pond animals, at least where we live, are pretty prevalent, they have seen some of these animals before. A frog, especially, right? A fish, many times a duck. And then on the small group for that day, you can see that they're making a pond collage. And so basically I'm just providing the materials laid out on the table. I'm not providing an example. I'm not providing any direction. I'm just providing the materials. And so it might be blue and white tissue paper. It might be stickers of pond animals. It might be stamps of pond animals. It might be some glue where they can glue on maybe little cutouts of pond animals, anything that you can think of, and just put it all out in the middle and let them have a ball with what they want to create. And so just some ideas here on what you could use, but really anything goes when they're creating. And then day 2, for their whole group, they're going to do our favorite pond animal. And so basically I'm going to get a piece of chart paper and I'm going to put my 3 pictures at the top, and I will put up a turtle, a duck, and a frog. And then they get to choose which is their favorite. And then you give them one of these little ones. So if duck is their favorite, they're going to come glue, and you can help them with this, their duck underneath. And if you want to put their name on it, kind of to represent them, or if they want to add some color to this, whatever you want to do. But I generally don't spend a lot of time on the duck piece itself. I spend more time on counting how many kids like ducks, how many kids like turtles, how many kids liked frogs. Oh my goodness, duck was the favorite. You all really like ducks. Have you seen a duck? Going into all of these things, but we love graphing, early graphing, for being able to compare sets, for counting with one-to-one correspondence, and we're all doing it right there in whole group. And then for small group on day 2, it's fill up the pond. So I'm using a small container. You might use water beads, which now the Dollar Tree has, which is awesome, but obviously you're going to watch them with those because they are young kids. Or you can just use water. Rubber ducks. These ones that I found are the numeral ones that are fun. I like to put these in the sensory center because you can count the top and then see the number on the bottom. But I think even Dollar Tree has ducks. So just grabbing some ducks and then the numeral cards. And so as a small group, we're going to show that group of children a card. So this one's obviously 1, and we're going to count it. Oh, look, it's 1 duck. And then they put that many ducks into the pond. Oh, there's only 1. And then you can take him back out if you don't have enough ducks. And then we go on to the next one. How many ducks now? And we practice counting them. Oh my goodness, there's 5. And so now they're having to count one-to-one correspondence to put their ducks into the pond. That's a lot more ducks. And we start using all that vocabulary of early math. And they're loving it because they're using hands-on things. They're using something they can touch. And who doesn't love a rubber ducky, right? And then we're going to use those. Oh, sorry, I'm still on this one. Then on the next day, we are going to play a game in whole group called Where is Duck? And this game will get so many giggles, and I honestly don't know why. As an adult, I can't quite figure it out, but we're going to go with it. And so each pond has a shape on it because we are going to be working on some shape recognition. And so there's 4 of them. There's a square, there's a triangle, there's a rectangle, and there's an oval, because these are the ones that I find year after year, even with my pre-Ks, not just my 3s, that they struggle with. And so we're going to work on these. So I hang these up on the wall or on, the whiteboard, whatever you have, and just tape them at the top. Don't put the tape on the bottom. And if you find that you have sunlight shining through, you might want to add like a piece of construction paper to the back so they can't see through this paper. But generally with all of this color on here, it doesn't really affect it. But so I hang all these up and I just put tape on the top, and then I have them hide their eyes. And I said, I'm going to hide Ducky under one of these ponds. And so I'll put some tape or sticky tack on the back of Ducky. And so I'll lift up one of them while they're hiding their eyes, and I'll put Ducky under it. And then I'll say, let's see if we can find Ducky. And so I will choose a student to tell me a shape. Oh, which shape? Go point to it. Oh, that's the rectangle. Let's see if Ducky's under the rectangle. So then we'll lift it. Oh, not there. Let's try again. And so then another student will come up. And they may not know the names of these shapes, and that's okay. Just have them point to them, and then you are reinforcing them. So, oh, that's the triangle. See this triangle? Let's see if Ducky's under triangle. And so we lift it up, and if he's there, and then when he finally gets to the one that's there and he's there, there will be all kinds of screaming and excitement and, oh, we found him. Let's do it again. And again, I'm not really sure why it's so exciting, but man, oh man, is it. And so this is a great activity to do. And they don't even know they're practicing and hearing these shape names over and over again. They're just finding Ducky, and they're having a darn fine time doing it. And so that's the whole group activity for that day. And then there's also rubber duck painting. And I love to paint with things that aren't traditionally painted with. Paintbrushes are used so often, and they are great. But I also love children to explore with different types of materials to paint with. And so we're painting with ducks. And so it's very interesting to watch how they want to use this tool. Many of them will use the beak, and they'll dip the beak in the paint and use the beak. Some of them will stamp him onto their paper or onto the easel. And so it's very interesting to watch. Some of them just want to paint the duck. And you know what? That's okay too. It's washable paint. It'll come off. It's not a big deal. And so allowing them to kind of come up with how they want to use the duck encourages problem solving. And also I love it because, in a paintbrush, we're only holding it one way. And usually with our 3s, it's this way, right? Full fisted. Well, with the duck, when they're wanting to paint with the bottom of it, they're now having to figure out a different way to hold it. And so we're using different muscles in our hands. We're adapting. We're also trying new things. That's part of the process of art. It didn't work when I tried to paint with his head, or it didn't work when I tried to roll him because he doesn't roll, right? Learning so many amazing things just by trying out a different tool to paint with. So we're going to paint with rubber ducks. And then on the last day, I believe it's the last day. Oh, just kidding. It's not. Day 4. We're going to do a 5 Little Ducks song. And I like to put these little guys on craft sticks. I don't have them done today. I actually gave away all my 2-3 stuff when I moved up to pre-K, because I always knew that I could print it again if I needed to. But I shared with the teacher that was new. And so she has all my ducks. But I printed them out so you guys could see them. And so I put these on sticks. There's 5 of them. And then there's a song to go with them. And then depending on how many kiddos you have, you can do this once, twice, and you can have them help hold the ducks. But it's the 5 little ducks went out one day over the hills and far away. And you generally probably know these. You can use these ducks, or if you want to use these ducks, or if you have the chip clip ducks. They look like they're ducks that are chip clips. Those work great too. Anything to kind of make it more hands-on and very visual so that they can see the duck disappearing. So that is the whole group, and they love it, and they will probably ask you to do it again. And then in small group, we're doing some frog bowling. Again, gave my frog bowling away, but we love frog bowling. I actually created this frog bowling set many, many moons ago, the one in the picture. But this, so some frog cards. So there's 6 of them. So we're going up to 6. It's like, here's the number 1 frog. And I'm going to tape it to a container. Now this is a puffs container, like, you know, that little ones use. This was a long time ago that we had puffs in our house, and usually new little feeders are using these. So if you have any families in your program that have little tiny ones, you can ask them to save them. I like these better than like water bottles and stuff. These are heftier, and they don't come so far up at the top that they go over. So they work really well. Plus, if they are not heavy enough for you, you can just open them, add, you know, some sand or some weight to them, and you can take off the wrapper as well. So, but basically just gonna put that guy on there and make sure I have 6 of these, and I'm going to put 6 on there, and I'm going to lay them out, and they're going to bowl, and then we're going to go see, since this is a small group, I'm right there with them, we're going to see which numbers they knock down. So they're starting to look at numerals. And so their little ball rolls, and oh my goodness, you rolled down, look, you rolled down a 6, and you rolled down this 1. Let's see if we can roll down the 3. And you're pointing to the 3. And so they're starting to pick up on, she's saying 3, that shape looks like that. They're starting to put those together, but they're doing it in a way where they don't even realize they're doing it because it's fun. And they're bowling, and so you're getting them up and moving. You're having them go over to where they just bowled. You're having them use their gross motor skills to try to hit a target, and you can kind of decide with each kiddo how far back you need to stand. But lots of good things going on in there that aren't just learning numerals. Like, lots of great gross motor. And then for day 5, the whole group on this one is movement cards. And I love movement cards because they can just be used so many different ways, but they definitely can be on theme. And so these are just things like buzz like a fly. So I'll hold this one up, and then we all stand up and we buzz around like a fly, and until I say stop, and then we all come back. Now let's go slow like a turtle. And so really slow around the room. Fly like a dragonfly. Put out those wings. Waddle like a duck. This one tends to be a little tricky for our younger friends. They just love it. They love being able to be different animals. This one is sway like a cattail, and you may need to explain this one, right? So these are plants that are at the pond, and they sway back and forth. Can you sway softly? And so you're introducing new vocabulary. Wiggle like a worm. Oh man, can they do that one? Roll like a log. Log rolling is not an easy skill for our young kiddos. And so seeing if they can log roll. Make sure you have a rug out so it doesn't hurt the noggins. And then hopping like a frog, and you can just see if they can hop on their 2 feet, or can they bend down like a frog and hop. So many different ways to do this, but they love them because it gets them up and moving. It's silly. They get to see their teacher doing it, which is even more silly. And you are teaching them some new vocabulary. You are getting them up and moving, and you're having them follow directions, right? You're keeping attention to task on this one task until the cards are done. And so that is one of my big goals in doing these. We're helping children build that attention to task, and also learning some important skills. And then the small group on this one is big and little sort. And so there's a mat, and you could cut this mat in half if you wanted to, but there's big and little, and you're sitting right there. Obviously they can't read. You're sitting right there though, so you can show them what to do. And so I will show them 2 of the same. I like to use the same animal to model this, same insect, if you will. Look, there's 2 dragonflies. This one is really big. This one's really small. I'm going to put the big one here and the small one here. And then it's your turn, right? And so then you hold up 2. There's fishies. Which one is small? Which one's little? And I'm going to use different words. I'm not going to use the same words every time because I want them to understand that these words are synonyms. Obviously, they're not going to know they're synonyms, but you're using them together. And so little, small, all kind of around the same thing. oh, this one's really big. He's large. And so we're going to put him with the big um, dragonfly. Let's put this fish with the little dragonfly. And so then you're going through each one, right? And they're going to start to catch on. And so they're sorting. They're sorting by size. It may only be a 2 sort, but that's where you got to start. And so you're starting to see if they can understand simple concepts and be able to follow directions, and also can they last, is there attention to task there? Maybe you only get through 2 cards. That's okay, right? You're building that up. So that was the last day, but I just wanted to share with you what's inside, because I know from being in the classroom with my 3s that there just aren't a lot of resources. So I wanted you to know that I do have some resources available to you, and I wanted to show you them in case they're helpful to you, because I know that I spent a lot of time looking and decided just to create my own. And it was really helpful, and I love being able to share that with others that maybe need some ideas, maybe need some fresh ideas, or maybe you're new to the classroom and you need some ideas. So those are available. I've got the link up there. You can see all of them. There are 35 different themes, so there are plenty for you to pick and choose from, for sure. They range from, school, all about me, 5 senses, down to farm and autumn and pumpkins, to winter and polar animals and fairy tales and construction and bears. I mean, just so many wonderful things that you're probably already wanting to do. Spring weather, plants, oceans, insects, pets, like so many things. And so again, these match up with the pacing guide, which will tell you what skills you're covering. So if you're looking to cover certain skills, you can look in that pacing guide and see which thematic unit would help you do that. It's also a great way, like if you have to list goals, or if you have to list objectives on your lesson plan, it's kind of already laid out there for you of what these lesson plans are covering, what they're providing for children. And so it's right there for you too. So that makes it a little bit easier on your part when you're lesson planning. And then they also are working on skills that you will later assess for. So hoping that was helpful. Information is in the post, and drop me a comment. Let me know. If you are a 2-3 teacher, do you find it more difficult to find resources like I did? And let me know if this was helpful, because I would love to be able to share these with more 2 and 3-year-old teachers that need that extra help, because I know how you just pour your heart and soul into it, and you just pour all your time into it. But you also need to take care of yourself, and you also need to make sure that you are not spending all your time at school, because you do have a family at home and they need you too. So anything I can do to help you save some of that time and still be providing quality resources to you is what I love to do. So drop me a comment. Let me know if this was helpful, and go check out the pacing guide and some of those themes, see if they can be helpful. All right, guys, have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.